Welcome one, welcome all to volume 72 of the NFC East Mixtape, the greatest crossover ever attempted and successfully landed in the history of all things. This is the one-stop shop for NFC East content. You can listen to it on any of the NFC East podcast networks at SB Nation, Blogging the Boys for Dallas Cowboys content, Big Blue View for New York Giants, Bleeding Green Nation for Philadelphia Eagles, and Hogs Haven for Washington Commanders. You can also watch it on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel or the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. If you do, you will see myself. I am RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation, and he is back. BLG, I missed your bright, shining, beautiful, bearded face.
That's true. I know you did. I know everyone did. Shout out to Jamal for filling in well for me last week. The first episode of the NFC East mixtape that I was not on. I missed it. It definitely felt strange.
We actually had a contingency plan in case I missed when I had a baby.
That's right.
I persevered, and you were the first person to fold. Pretty embarrassing.
I mean, we probably could have ended up making it work if we really wanted to. I think I ended up having some time on Tuesday in Miami. It was tough, though. I was pretty busy. There was a lot of running around to do. Also, not a big fan of Florida. I said this on BGN Radio, but I'll reiterate that here. It's not my scene, RJ. It's not my space. But there isn't any time really this week for any kind of BS at the top of the show talking about tacos or anything. There's a lot of meat to get into.
We have a lot of football. Okay, but before
stuff, especially stuff that is not good news for the Cowboys.
Well, I know. I'll get to it. But before we do, I want to mention whatever team you like, whether that's the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, or the Commanders, make sure to, first of all, check out the team site for that team at SB Nation. Read all their content, support them, follow them on social media. Make sure to subscribe to their podcast network. You obviously get lots of podcasts covering that specific team. And after you subscribe, leave a rating and write a review. 5-star rating, write whatever you want. And as BLG once coined it, give the cross review. Go somewhere else, go to a different team podcast network. Leave a review. Tell them how much you hate them as long as you leave a 5-star rating. BLG, I had to hold this last week. We have a new review on the BTB feed if you're ready.
Alrighty.
This comes to us from rstock87. It is titled Mixtape Cross Review -A+ Content. I've been a BGN radio listener for many years and have been a fan of many of the shows, and the mixtape is up there with the best. I couldn't help but notice some of the coincidences I shared with RJ. I have an 8-month-old boy at home, which I believe is near the age of RJ's son. We're near the same age, and I have Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner downloaded on my Spotify because that's on my favorite album of all time. Shout out to From Under the Cork Tree. I finally decided to write this review after this last crazy coincidence. My wife and I have been watching Community as a short show when we don't have time for an hour-long episode, but haven't watched an episode for a couple of months. After the mixtape episode the other day where RJ mentioned season 3, episode 4, I told my wife we had to watch an episode or two. Sure enough, she turns on Netflix, and what episode is next for us? Season 3, episode 4, Remedial Chaos Theory. I couldn't ignore it any longer, and it's confirming a theory I've long held that RJ is a secret Eagles fan. There simply isn't any other explanation. Welcome to Diseased Eagles Fandom. P.S. The mixologist nickname kind of stinks. We've got to work on something else.
So the Eagles fan thing is true, and that really fits with your tweets recently, praising the Eagles, which people are loving to see. As far as the listener named, I think listeners is a stretch. I think mixologist.
Listeners is the crowd favorite. That's actually happened while you were gone. We got that. Cute. We got those tweets like after the last episode you were on. We got a lot of tweets. Lots of people suggested listeners. You have to go with it at this point, dude. You have to. We can't go into the season without a name. That's by far the most popular one. Embrace it. This is a democracy.
What do you think about mixers?
No.
How is listeners better?
Because you can't say the NFC East mixtape mixers. Like it's too alliterative. Like it's got to be the NFC East mixtape listeners. Like that sounds cool.
All right, we have too much to get into to dilly-dally anymore.
I officially crown you all the listeners.
Because I like, you know how like we do this as a show and it's content and it's in our schedule, but like I genuinely want to get your reaction.
I just look. It was all part of the process. We had to sort that. So like, they are officially the listeners. Can you acknowledge?
No. I'm not talking about that anymore. I'm not like.
No. I'm saying I want to get to the football too, but we had to get through that. That was
that's fine, and I'm saying that's fine. I'm not commenting on that part anymore. I'm just saying like I'm transitioning us into the thing.
I was just making sure the name was sticking. But go ahead, set us up because I want to rage. I'm so upset. Go ahead.
I mean, this is like you really. It's amazing that this like of course this was going to happen exactly the way it did. Tyron Smith getting hurt in a serious kind of way. And obviously, no one wants to see him hurt. That's not what like rival fans should be rooting for in terms of
Right.
it's seeing another human being hurt. But like in terms of, I don't want to say tempting fate, but in terms of the Cowboys tempted fate, and you specifically you, but also the royal you at Blogging the Boys. How many articles have there been this summer about like left tackle situation looking dicey? No swing tackle. I've seen I feel like 5 different BTB articles that are like 5 free agent left tackles the Cowboys can sign. And sure enough, Tyron Smith gets hurt. And first of all, this idea that he's going to return in December, I don't know if you're buying that. That does not seem realistic to me at all. That seems like don't count on it. If it happens, great. But the Cowboys are in a really bad spot here.
So this news came, and I know I did talk about it with John Stolness on BGN Radio last week. So BGN listeners do get to hear some thoughts of mine, and obviously BTB listeners have. This news came a week ago on Wednesday night, so it was actually the night after the mixtape had dropped on all of the podcast networks, and so this has been a thing. It has, I think we had kind of had like this moment of like when there's like a thunderstorm and the gray clouds clear and there's like a pocket of sunshine and then the storm returns. Like we had this little pocket before everything got bad again. And this was so predictable. To your point, I hate that it happened. I would have loved, and I said, all throughout the offseason, I think you could vouch for this. Like, I would love to be wrong. I would love for Tyron Smith to play every single game. I've put it in as many, funny ways as I can think of. The last time Tyron played an entire season, the Cowboys were operating out of Valley Ranch. Dak and Zeke were in college. Obama was president. Like, you can go on and on and on and find a billion different ways to sort of highlight how long it's been. And they not only ignored that, but they bet against that. They bet entirely against that, which was stupid. And it was stupid to not only not prepare at left tackle, they didn't prepare at all at tackle. They cut Lyle Collins and they drafted Matt Waletzko with the 5th round pick they got in the Amari Cooper trade. Woo, good job. And so the tweets that I have been getting now from the like super Cowboys homers, like, oh no, you're being too hard on them, blah, blah, is they planned for this. They drafted Tyler Smith. This was the contingency plan. It was not, because if it was, he would not have gotten work exclusively at left guard all throughout camp, all throughout the preseason. This would still be really bad and really stupid and embarrassing, even if Tyler Smith had gotten some work at left tackle throughout camp in the preseason. But it was almost as if like at every turn, they were like, the episode of The Office where Jim is like describing the mouse and how it like walks with like some arrogance. Like they were like taunting this. You know what I mean? They were like poking this bear. Like, come on, injury bug, bite us. We dare you. And it did. And it did, and they have absolutely no plan. And now they're not going to go after anybody because they do not want to have to admit that they were wrong. A lot of Cowboys fans are like, go sign Eric Fisher, go sign Brian Bulaga, trade for Andrew Whitworth. There's no way, because if they do that, it's an admission that they were completely and totally wrong. We're recording this today, actually on Tuesday evening. We waited till after 53-man rosters were initially decided upon. And earlier today, Jerry Jones went on 105.3 The Fan, the home of the Cowboys, and not confirmed, but he said that Tyler Smith has a high ankle sprain. So Tyler Smith has, I
didn't see that. Jeez.
Yeah, he's a rookie in the NFL. He has gotten work only at guard since June. He is coming off of a high ankle sprain and now has to go play left tackle in the NFL. And when he doesn't, and this is the frustrating part, it won't be, I think, the educated fan, but so many people are, and I think you'll do this in a trolley way, so many people will blame Dak Prescott. So many people will blame Mike McCarthy. People will blame Tyler Smith. Like, if and when Tyler Smith fails, this isn't his fault. Like, he's being totally set up to fail. And the last bit of like thing I'll add to this is all they have done is just like try to hope this into like existence. They have said, well, it was 6 years ago when Tony Romo went down to injury and we didn't know what to do, but Dak Prescott came in. Yeah, he saved you. You tripped and completely everything good that has happened to them has been a complete and total accident. I love Micah Parsons. And for the record, I would not undo that for Rashawn Slater, but that should not have worked out the way it did. They took an off-the-ball linebacker with what was effectively a top 10 pick. Like, in theory, that is an incorrect way to build your team. It happened to turn out that he is also this amazing pass rusher, hybrid unicorn, whatever you want to call him. So, I mean, nothing that they plan goes according to plan or works out in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's like, if you jumped off a building with a backpack that, like, you didn't know had a parachute in it, but somehow it did, and you landed and you were fine. Doesn't mean like it's a good idea to do it again. Like it's not a good, it's results over process. And I just want to highlight here, as I did on BGN Radio, and I'm sure you know this, and Cowboys fans know this, but for those who maybe don't, and other NFC East fans, Cowboys with Tyron Smith since 2016, which is the year he started to kind of miss games consistently. 41-24, 0.631 winning percentage, and without him, they're a game over 500 at 17-15. It's a big difference. It's a huge loss for them. Tyler Smith too, like. He might have long-term potential, and I can buy that. But you're talking about a 21-year-old, especially young player, young man, like who hasn't like fully even developed. I feel like as a human, like playing left tackle, and a guy who had like a bunch of penalty issues and playing in the AAC. We're not talking about like an SEC lineman here. The Tulsa AAC, like that is a dicey prop. And again, one who hasn't, I know he's played left tackle, but hasn't even been taking the reps there in camp. Like that's a very dicey proposition to just stick him out there and think. I mean, maybe he'll even hold his own. Even in the best case scenario, realistic best case scenario, it's still a significant drop off from like even if he plays way above where people think he can, it's still a drop off.
It's been a really surreal. I mean, it hasn't even been a week. The morning, so this news actually broke like at midnight Central Time.
I remember. I woke up first thing Thursday morning and had to write an article about it.
So I was still awake. My wife and I had watched Big Brother. I was all excited to go, like, just kind of read some articles and, kind of play around on my iPad. And this breaks. And I'm like, so like I just like kind of snap myself up, throw on, kind of like throw my face together, whatever, shoot a YouTube video, get a podcast recorded, blah, blah, blah. And the next morning, First Take is at the Star. And like, I don't want to be the person that like says First Take sucks, but First Take sucks. Like, and so like, if you watch that show and you enjoy it, like, I'm happy that you find enjoyment that way in life, whatever. But it was really surreal. Like, this like kind of like, what like fictitious show is at the Star, and they're all like, there's all these people like just kind of, yeah, go Cowboys, how about them Cowboys? And Jerry Jones is on there. Like, I'm not a wrestling fan, but going like full WWE, like, Stephen A, you're a fraud. And it was just like, it was very surreal. Like, I can't really recall a time or window that felt that way from the Cowboys perspective. And then, later that night, Thursday night, the Cowboys held their like own miniature version of NFL honors, and they're walking the like blue carpet, like shaking hands and kissing babies. And it was like the season just took a massive hit, like it was a really strange kind of experience. And so they refuse to live in reality. And I don't know. I really don't know what my theory is. Like, I don't know. I don't buy like that they don't care about winning. I don't buy that they're trying to tank for Sean Payton. I would encourage everybody to go read what Bob Sturm wrote in The Athletic. He wrote what I thought was the best article of the offseason. So, I mean, if you still qualify this as the offseason, it was incredible. And it really kind of encapsulated how the Cowboys got here. They have purposefully, Brandon, gotten worse at receiver, gotten worse at tackle, gotten worse at edge rusher. I know they drafted, and like people say, like, well, they spent 2 draft picks at tackle. They spent a 5th round pick. Like, like miss me with this. It's so stupid. And so I mean, I know like betting lines haven't altered, betting lines haven't changed much, blah, blah, blah. I have a hard time seeing how this works. I mean, it on paper seems very, very, very shaky. The Cowboys are completely and totally banking on the fact that Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in the division and that he's just going to lift them because they want him to. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I hate to say it. I greatly admire Howie Roseman. I admire how the Eagles are never satisfied, how the Eagles are constantly saying, how can we improve? And I admire that the Eagles are saying Jalen Hurts is not that good. We can all admit it. We can all see it. We haven't really found a way to completely and totally improve that specific position. But what can we do in the meantime? We can do everything that we can to possibly help him, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And in a weird way, I'm fascinated about like seeing what strategy is better. I mean, I don't think this is a strategy like what the Cowboys are doing, but it would be kind of funny if it's just, and I told Jamal this last week, if the 1 of 53 can lead a team more than the 52 of 53, so to speak. So I am interested in that just as like a social experiment. But I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say they're the most unorganized front office in the NFL right now.
I have a couple things. First of all, yeah, it is really tough for Cowboys fans, I imagine. Like not even trying to troll or needle, but like the juxtaposition of like, oh, our team only got worse, and the Eagles are out here trading for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, like and no one even knew was necessarily available. So yeah, that has to hurt. I did want to note really quick that Adam Schefter had tweeted today that after the Eagles released LaRaven, did I say released? Yeah. released LaRaven. Tongue twister a little bit there. I almost said Relaven. So LaRaven Clark, Cowboys offensive line coach Joe Philbin helped draft Clark in Indianapolis.
I hate this so much. Like, I hate
Yeah.
this. It's like, who do we know? Who have we worked with in the past? I hate
he
that
was so
forever.
bad, RJ, in practices that like the Eagles had like some really bad days. Like they couldn't even like run the offense in practice because like the left tackle just kept getting blown up. So that's probably not the best option. So my questions for you, I guess, are what do you think they should do in terms of should they add anyone? Should they trade for someone? And not like thinking what they will do necessarily, but what they should do. And then, I guess what do you think they're gonna? Are they just gonna reconfigure the line? Are they gonna add someone like? I know we kind of went through like the emotion of all of it and the frustration.
Right.
I get that, but like, what is now the practical path forward for the Cowboys? Is what I'm trying to ask.
It's been almost a week and they haven't brought in anybody. Right. And I don't think the Cowboys are like alone in that. I think no NFL team wants to admit their failures, right, or their mistakes, unless it's like, DEFCON 1, like, Teddy Bridgewater getting hurt. Vikings need something. It happens to involve the Eagles, but like, let's trade for Sam Bradford. I mean, this is that kind of thing. But I think a lot of NFL teams would follow suit and say, how can we promote from within? And so the problem with, I do think that this is one of the best solutions is to move Tyler Smith out. It's not a good solution, but of the available ones, it is among the best. So you move him out. Connor McGovern was supposed to serve as your point of interior depth. Now he starts at left guard. That's probably what they're going to do. That's kind of how they're talking. Another option, that people have thrown out, this is outside of adding anybody, is you kick Terrence Steele out, who's their current right tackle, to left tackle. He was their swing tackle previously. You move Zach Martin over to right tackle. He doesn't want to do that, but he's played right tackle before. A lot of people said, play Zach at left tackle. If you're going to move people around, you might as well do it. And then you keep Tyler at left guard in either one of those scenarios, and you kick McGovern over to right guard where Zach Martin is. I think the easiest solution that makes the most sense is adding somebody, but I don't think they're going to do it. I mean,
who's out there that like I know it's not there aren't great options. Is there anyone?
The names we've talked about a lot are Eric Fisher, Brian Balaga, Marcus Cannon, Isaiah Wynn has been a trade target
Jason
that's
Peters.
been talked about a lot. Jason Peters and like this is not a good situation, but like Jason Peters was never going to sign to be your swing tackle, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So, but that's where you said this earlier, but like that's where this like he's going to return in December, dude. Give it up. Like you got to let it go at this point. You have to assume he's gone, you have to assume he's retired at this point. And so like bring Jason Peters and let him be your left tackle. I mean, I don't know that I believe the Cowboys were really interested in Chuma Edoga, the Jets tackle,
who got cut.
But he got cut. But there was a report from Aaron Wilson that they were interested on Monday. And the idea behind that was so silly because the moment Mekhi Becton got hurt, granted this is the right side of their line, they were like, "Oh, this dude sucks. Like, let's go get Dwayne Brown." I mean, so that, but that's going to be they're going to add somebody, but it's going to be somebody to be a point of depth, to be a swing tackle. They're not going to bring anybody that can seriously, dwarf. Tyler Smith as far as competition is concerned, but I would love Eric Fisher trade for Andrew Whitworth's rights. That was obviously a thing last week. He can say all he wants about semantics and how he didn't say you heard the clip.
I heard it.
I mean, he intimated what he did, but that's fine. I think that's the best option. And if you don't do that, you're kidding yourself. I mean, you are kidding yourself and you are just hoping. I mean, name any time a rookie. I mean, Tristan Wirfs is maybe an example of a tackle coming in right away, but like there was so much stability around that team that it's a little bit different. I mean, like name a rookie left tackle that has ever been amazing. You can't.
Yeah, Wirfs too. Also, like that was like a loaded offensive tackle year. Like it was like that was the perception. He played at Iowa, which is like a offensive line factory, and from college, like
there's a lot of pedigree there, right?
Yeah, and he's also the 13th overall pick, a little bit higher, than Tyler Smith. So, also he had the quarterback who like throws the ball the quickest in the league to help him out. He's not holding on to the ball a ton. So, yeah, I also. There's probably not so much maybe on your radar. Maybe a lot of Eagles fans were like, should the Eagles trade Andre Dillard to the Cowboys? And yeah, obviously, but why would the Cowboys do that trade? Like, why would the Cowboys be like, why? Oh yeah, you're comfortable with trading your backup left tackle? Yeah, we'll take that on. Like clearly, if the Eagles are trading him, they don't believe in him very much. So I don't think that's going to happen.
And clearly, like what a lot of people have posited is with regards to today, like just wait till after 53-man roster cuts. Like there's going to be tackles on the market. You're right. The plan to save the Cowboys here should be any dude that another team doesn't want on their
Right.
team. That's totally gonna fix this. Like that's
Right.
the
Like
best way to go about it.
like
And
teams are just loaded with tackles and they're just going to cut some
right.
good ones.
I know that we didn't talk about this last week, so I don't want to spend like all of the time on this because obviously it's a week old. But what I will say is like I would almost be willing to think about forgiving them and for giving them the pass for the way they're handling this if they didn't have the third most salary cap space in the NFL right now. Like what have you been hoarding all this for? Like what was the reason to cut Lyle and to trade Amari? Like what were you creating this salary cap space for? And something I've said, and we'll come back to this, is something has to happen. Either that salary cap space has to be spent now, or CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs both have to get market-setting deals in the offseason. And I'm not saying that if that happens, like, oh, Super Bowl, we've won, but all of this has to go somewhere. And Stephen Jones has said, that, oh, we're saving it. We never know what's going to happen. If we have to add a player, you're not doing that. He has said, we got to save up. We got some young players that are going to be eligible for new deals next year. So if you do not give CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs both these massive market-setting deals, I mean, it was clearly all just fluff. It was clearly all just lame. And I can tell you what's going to happen, though. In the offseason, he's going to pit them against one another. Well, we can't make, two guys the highest paid player at their position, in the same offseason. We need everybody to understand the overall goal. You got to help each other. You got to help us all out. We want to field a roster that can compete for world championships. The National Football League is a competitive business, blah, blah, blah. So, like, I really, it's my last, like, kind of point here. I cannot think of a time. And Jerry admitted this himself, actually, on The Fan. I cannot think of a time where Cowboys, like the nucleus of Cowboys fans, at least the one that I live in, was so apathetic. Like their charm, their like wizardry is meaningless now. Like they've been able to kind of like, be charismatic through some funk in the past, but like not anymore. Nobody cares. Like people are only rolling their eyes at the Joneses.
Yeah, I mean, if they start winning in the season, you're going to buy some of that favor back. But yeah, for now, I get the frustration. Anything else with the Cowboys that like we need to get to?
The Tyler Smith high ankle thing was important. And
yeah, like, well, what's that about? Is he going to miss time? Like, I didn't even see that anywhere.
He
Is it
didn't
just
get
like a nagging thing.
It would have been ideal if he had the opportunity to play a tackle just at all in the preseason finale, but he missed that game due to injury. Now, they were very, optimistic about it. And actually on Monday, Steven said that he'd been given the green light to practice. But you know how high ankle sprains can be. They can linger, whatever. So, I mean, that's just kind of all we know right now. Of course, we know this because the owner, president, general manager went on one of his 2 weekly radio appearances and told the whole world. Now, I'm not like, I don't subscribe to the like, what are you doing telling your opponents your like strategies and you're like, whatever, like it's dumb. Injuries. But I mean, this is a circus. I mean, it really and truly and totally is a circus. So it's just like, oh, this was the elephants. Like next up is the tigers. Like after that is the monkeys. Like it's all just a show, man. And I know you don't. I feel for Mike McCarthy. I feel for Dak. Don't get me wrong, but Dak his job is safe. I feel for Mike McCarthy because he's going to be painted as this like this doofus. Like he's going to be painted as this like guy who had no, like intelligence, no whatever, was just this like dunce that failed. And I'm not saying I think he's a great coach, but I think you would agree that nobody could survive all of this. Like I don't know that it's for Sean Payton, but they are truly and totally almost intentionally sabotaging him.
All right. Well, we've gone at least 20 minutes on the Cowboys, so I don't even.
All right. I admire the Philadelphia Eagles. I do. I hate to say it. I think that they are the scum of the earth, but I admire, and like, man, dude, when I was tweeting about this, I got all these Cowboys saying, go cover the Eagles then. Just go talk about filthy. Go be with the Eagles and their fans. Yeah, like scum of the earth. I'm with you. The city's stupid. They worship a fictional superhero, sports icon, whatever. It's all dumb. It's all silly, but you know what? They understand how this game works. And I got all these people that were like, what success have the Eagles had as of late that makes them so much better than the Cowboys? I don't know. They won the Super Bowl 5 years ago. They've been to the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years.
What did you say? The connection cut out for a second there.
Anyway, they've been to the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years. They've done that with different head coaches, different quarterbacks. I mean, different, stars all over the place. They have the right kind of leaders that understand and embody the culture of the city. Again, I think it's dumb, but they do. Like, they rally around one another. They are, if you're a fan of like sports movies and crap like that, I mean, I am too. Like, the Eagles are your team. Like, they get it. And it's so stupid. And it pisses me off that my team is worth $8 billion and they can't even buy the logic that the Eagles have.
Are the Eagles, one simple question for you, are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC East right now?
I really, like, I'm not trying to, like, ride the fence. I really am not. I mean that, like,
Gotta give me an answer.
I don't think so, because
it's not a leading question. It's your opinion. I just want to know.
I don't think so. And the only reason I don't is because of Dak Prescott. I mean, we've seen him thrive, at least statistically, in chaos. And so I need to see this. I need to see it to understand, to be able to make that conclusion. So, like, this is an answer that will change. Right now, I lean Cowboys, and it's only because of it's Dak, and, like, by residual, it's the superstars. It's the top heaviness. Dak, CeeDee, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs. Can they resuscitate the rest of the crap that's around them? I don't know. Probably not. But I lean there because they've done it before.
But, like, so you think the Cowboys are at the top. Let's say, let's put a percentage on it. Like, they're the team to beat. They're at least at 51% because you think they're the majority. They're the favorite, whatever. What would you put the Cowboys at the end of, like, last season? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where they were to where they is now. Like, how much has that gap shrunk for you is basically what I'm trying to ask.
I'll look at it like a pie. Shout out to Stephen Jones. I think, obviously, so, like, but when you win the East, you have 100% of the pie, right? So, like, when the season ended, I think the Cowboys probably had, like, an 80% share of the pie. I think that's down to, like, 60%. And the pie being, like, your chances or opportunity to win the NFC East. I would give the Eagles 30. But, like, I think any reigning division champion right now is at, like, an easy 80. But the Cowboys are the only one. Maybe the Titans, although the Titans is really different just because that division's so bad. They're the new NFC least. But I'd say Dallas is at 60. I'd say Philly's at, like, 35. And I would say that Washington and New York split the other 2.5 or the other 5% at 2.5 each.
Okay. Yeah. I think the gap's probably closer than that. I'm going to be accused of being biased and a homer, but the Eagles really are. I mean, just in terms of the way things are trending, the vibes, I agree that quarterback is a big deal, but I also think that in this situation where the roster, like, at least on paper, is really kind of loaded like that, like, that's also a big deal. This is not like a normal kind of, like, average. This is like you had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to this roster. Like, that's a big deal.
You had all the dudes they've added, and, like,
AJ Brown. Yeah.
The other thing is, like we say, like, teams of the past have nothing to do with the current teams and who they are. But, like, to use this rivalry as an example, all these Cowboys fans, like, well, I'll take Dak over the Eagles any day. You're right. The Eagles have no history of winning, I don't know, the Super Bowl against, I don't know, the best quarterback of all time, because, I don't know, they had a great overall roster and team to play the game from a team standpoint. Like, they've literally done this before. And the architect who put that together, not to take any credit away from Doug Peterson, but the architect is doing it again. Like, this is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like 2017-ish from a template standpoint.
Similar. Yeah. I would say arguably better, because a lot of the guys that they added then were, like, kind of, like Chris Long at the end of his career.
Yeah, and, like, nobody really knew what Alshon was. They were more question marky, right? That's fair.
Question marky. Yeah, this is like AJ Brown in his prime, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in his prime,
right?
Kaiser White. Like, these are, like, players who, and I think that's part of the key thing here, and why it's an interesting kind of thing where I do think the Eagles are all in right now, absolutely, by their actions, but they're also not all in a way where, like, they're trying to go in with older players. Like, they're also trying. It's a situation kind of like you were touching on earlier, where I think obviously they're trying to make a run at this. They're hoping Hurts is the guy, but they're also, I think, knowing and putting themselves in a situation where they think maybe they can be like the Broncos ish, better version, but, like, in the sense that, hey, maybe we can lure a really good quarterback if one becomes available, and they'll want to come here because it's like everything else is in place, just need the quarterback.
Yeah. What if Lamar's available next year? What if Tua's available next year?
Well, that would be a whole thing.
It would be awesome if Tua replaced Jalen Hurts in the NFL.
Tua did look good when I was in Miami, by the way.
I know you were
stock
saying
up on Tua. Yeah.
But I disagree that they're all in. But hear me out, because I don't think they're ever out. Like, I think they live inside. I remember thinking after Chip Kelly got fired, just from, like, a Cowboys fan standpoint, I remember thinking, like, oh man, they're ruined. Like it's going to take the Eagles, like, a decade to get out of this. Who does it take a decade? And this isn't, like, just an Eagles thing, but, like, who does it take a decade to get out of anything anymore, except for the Cowboys, right? Like, the Cowboys are like, we have to rebuild the offensive line. It's going to take a decade. We have to give Jason Garrett a whole decade to kind of figure this out. No, like, the Eagles, the year after, were, like, showing signs of promise. 2 years later, they win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It can happen instantly if you live. I mean, like, I think, have you ever played Texas Hold'em?
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, I think the Cowboys are afraid of being the big blind. When the big blind comes around, they're like, we have to store up all of our chips because the big blind's coming, and we have to be able to fold our cards when the big blind comes around. But Howie's like, okay, like when right before the big blind comes, I'll just go all in. Like, and I know I said they're not all in, but I'll just pick up more chips, or I'll just go like buy more chips. I'll just find a way to get more chips so I can survive the big blind. Like, and what I admire is like people say that like the Eagles are a failure, like Cowboys fans do, because they haven't won another Super Bowl. Again, they dismissed the one, but like they're always close. Like they're always within arm's reach. Like who has been as like approximately close as they have been for 5 years running? The Rams, right? The Patriots before Tom Brady left.
49ers.
The Chiefs. The 49. Okay, but like we're talking, it's maybe like 5-6 teams, and the Eagles are in there, and they've changed quarterbacks, they've changed head coaches. That's not true as far as a coach standpoint from the Niners. That's not true with the Rams. It's not true with the Patriots. It's not true with the Chiefs. I mean, like that's a hard thing to do. I know there was the year of doubt, but I think that Howie and even my boy Nick Sirianni, they've kind of, to this point of the process, they're owed some apologies from my friend Brandon.
No, I mean, it's a big year for Sirianni, like, and Gannon, Jonathan Gannon specifically, too, who, like, now you have, again, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, in addition to adding Kaiser White and Hassan Reddick and, like, and Jordan Davis and the Kobe Dean. Like, there's no excuse for this. If this defense is, like, anything less than average, like, that's a giant failure. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing as a defensive coordinator? Like, you couldn't get more out of this talent. It's a lot of pressure on him, a lot of pressure on Sirianni. I think Howie's done a great job recently. He's built up this roster from tearing it down, which was an issue, but I think he has the team absolutely trending in the right direction. It's been a great offseason for him. Still have to get the quarterback position right, because that's the make or break thing. If that's wrong, well, then that's kind of a deal breaker. But
look, I do not mean to like cape for the people that I'm about to cape for, but I think Howie was dealt a similar hand to the Colts when Andrew Luck retired. Like the body that is the Eagles became infected. It did, right? Like it like one of the, like an important part of the body, like a limb became infected by Carson Wentz, right? Like with his arrogance and selfishness.
Yeah, but they also enabled a lot of that. And
sure,
that part of
like,
that is Howie.
Right. They ate poorly, whatever that led, but like the body became infected. So what did he do? He cut it off, right? He was like, okay, look. And so like there was a healing process, right? Like the way the Colts like healed, again, different things, like it's not apples to apples, but like he has survived it. Like most people would not. And I don't mean he survived it like he literally just has a job, but like the Eagles look really good. It's difficult to see them being bad this year. Like it really is. I mean, the favorable things that exist for the Cowboys outside of the superstars, like I said, Dak, Micah, CD, Trayvon, and if you want to throw DeMarcus Lawrence in there, whatever. But exists for the Eagles. They get to play the NFC East. They get 4, even if you think the Cowboys games are hard, they get 4 games against the rest of the division. They get the AFC South. I'm not afraid of them for the Cowboys or the Eagles. Who is their AFC team? The Steelers, right?
Yeah.
Did you know they used to be one team together? They were called the Steagles. Oh my God.
Love that.
But so they get the Steelers. They get the Bears and the Lions. They get the Saints. They get the Cardinals, the Fraudinals. I mean, like they like it all shapes up. I think as you were talking, and it's ironic that that I'm making this case on the Chauncey day. Like they are the Saints after the 2017 draft. If the Saints kept going, the Saints with that draft class bought a window of time, right? Like that incredible draft class with Marcus Williams and Kamara and Ramchick and stuff like that. But they kind of Cowboysed it up. Right, like they kind of settled. Like who did the Saints add after that? Malcolm Jenkins.
Lattimore, who was like the best.
Oh, right.
Yes,
sorry.
Yeah.
But like they added Malcolm Jenkins when he was available. Like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like they captured something special, and then they just coasted off of that. There's no coasting that happens with the Eagles. You've seen the movie Miracle about the U.S. hockey team. They're that scene where Coach Brooks is like, again, another trade, another free agent, another one, because it's never enough. I respect that.
Yeah, and again, I've said I think Howie does his best work when he's doubted, and I think he's taken the criticism personally and good. And also, again, a reason why maybe we shouldn't always just like be like praising him and not criticizing him ever. Like I'm it's part of that's like a bit, and I'm kidding, but at the same time, like I'm serious. Like he does good work. I think some people are motivated by that. Some people are motivated by proving people, and he's been really good at that. So I am always skeptical of like giving him credit too much. I mean, obviously you want to give him some credit, but I don't want to be like Howie is like earned all you don't want to doubt him at all. And Howie, we trust.
No,
like,
yeah, he's
he's
not infallible.
No, I don't want to get there with him because I don't think that's. I think that's a spot he's been weak at. I think once he gets into that position, like Howie does no wrong. He aces it. No, then he gets into a point where there's hubris, and I think he kind of gets to a point where he isn't fully honest with himself, and the team isn't fully honest with themselves. And to kind of what you're talking about, the Eagles after winning the Super Bowl, they kind of didn't really step on the gas full throttle and do some of the things they're doing now. I think they were like, we like our guys. We have a core. We don't need to continue to add pieces. Yeah, it's kind of like where the Cowboys are now.
Do you know, honestly, that's Steven's as a trope? Like Steven says that all. Okay, I didn't know if you knew that or not. So.
Teams, NFL teams, no one likes to lie to themselves more. They are all convinced, like, doesn't matter how bad they are, that they're always handling everything right, that everything is great, that our players are always better than anyone else realizes. It's really the delusion. And obviously there's a fine line there because you have to have some level of confidence and believe in your own guys to some extent. But there also has to be, like a reality check. And it seems like the Cowboys don't have that. And I think the Eagles got one in 2020. I think that was a big reality check for them, and it served them well since.
I think I told you after the Cowboys opening press conference in Oxnard, Jerry, this was like, I think I said at the time, it was like really applicable to life. He said one of his greatest weaknesses is he only lives like in the positive outcomes of his life. Like he will just straight up like pretend negative experiences didn't happen. And that's, again, like I don't admire that, but like I respect that. Like, I respect some people just kind of choose to live that way. Again, talking about life as a whole, but pain is a learning experience. Like pain is a learning. So I think I told you then, Tony Dungy's son, I read in his book a long time ago, literally does not feel pain. Like that's, I don't know what that symptom is, but there's something within his nervous system that doesn't feel pain. And so like when I first was reading that chapter, I was like, oh wow, that's sick. And then like I continued because I was a kid and I remember, I was reading and he was like, this is really dangerous because like his hand could be on fire. He could break a leg and he would just not know. And so like you need that. And I think that Howie and the Eagles as a whole learned from that. I'm interested to see if Doug Peterson learned from that. But the Cowboys have not. And because they have no consequences if they fail. Like if the Cowboys fail, so what? Like their jobs aren't in jeopardy. Mike McCarthy's is, but so what? He failed. We'll get somebody else in. They're the first NFL team to be worth $6, $7, $8 billion. Like they are succeeding in lots of other ways that are
no one cares about,
right? But that are fooling them into thinking like Charles Robinson, who I know you're a fan of too. He said this on his podcast. I think it was earlier this week, maybe late last week. Everything's blended together. The problem, and a lot of people have said this too. The problem with the Cowboys is they think they are a world-class organization. They believe they have it understood. And I think to your point, Howie has let go of that. He no longer thinks that about himself. And that's when I think like call that being underrated or doubted or whatever. Like that's when Howie does his best work. When he's like nervous, when he's looking over his shoulder, when he's trying to prove himself. And I think we've seen that manifest itself. I'm very, very interested to see this team. I'm also very sad because I think it's not going to go well, but I really am interested to see this experiment of like the 1 of 53 versus the 52.
Why don't we stop talking about the Eagles and move into the other teams? Should we take a break first?
The break is happening now. We're back from the break. Brandon has still yet to pay up on his push-up challenge. I actually just spoke very kindly about the Eagles for a long time, which was my part of the challenge. So
you kind of just lost here because you still have to do it. But
I didn't lose. The listeners have lost because you were the one who was supposed to do it.
I mean, I didn't say I was going to do it right away. And also, I haven't been around. I've been traveling. I had to go to Cleveland, RJ. I had to go to Miami, cover the practices. So, and then, you come back. There's a preseason game. There's cuts. It's life spin. And I know you can relate. You're in the same boat, getting pulled in a lot of different directions. There's a lot of for the listeners here, the listeners in your case, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, as with any job, that kind of maybe you don't always obviously you're not going to be privy to, but I mean, we like our jobs. It's not a complaint. It's just like sometimes we're a little stressed and a little tired.
On the subject of our jobs, I'll just say this: we can't fully say what's happening, but starting next week, there is something cool that if you're a fan of Brandon or a fan of RJ, or specifically a fan of Brandon and RJ, you might like. I mean, so we'll see. But All right. Washington Commanders, catch us up. By the way, I'm just telling you this for like our purposes. I have like 15 minutes. Maybe.
Okay.
So we
Well,
need to
I mean,
step on their gas.
we don't have a ton on, I think, the final two teams. Sorry, Commanders fans, and sorry, Giants fans out there. But I mean, the biggest thing on the Commanders, obviously, is Brian Robinson got freaking shot. Like, what the heck, man? That's crazy. I feel so bad. Like, that's awful. That's terrible. It's so sad. And it was nice to see him back at the facility today. There's a picture. I put that in our doc that we have there, RJ.
Mm-hmm.
He's on crutches. He has like a wrap around his leg. He's smiling. He's holding a bag of Oreos.
Do you know why he has the Oreos?
I don't.
He like fulfilled his like you got to bring the snacks rookie thing. So it was like a cool story. Like respect. That was really cool and funny. Yeah, dude, that was really wild. Actually, Jamal, we talked about Antonio Gibson and like Brian, kind of like supplanting him, and like that obviously was where things were trending. And like I don't even know. I don't even feel right like talking about like his football standing. I mean, I recognize
his return to the field. Yeah,
right. But like I'm happy that I'm very happy that he is like seemingly in good health and he's seemingly on the path to recovery. That is certainly great news. I don't think the suspects have been apprehended yet, and I certainly hope that happens. But I mean, what a crazy story. And this is where, and this is not about football, but like this is where Ron Rivera, I think, is a perfect human being. I hate to even call it a coach. Like he completely and totally understood in that moment from all the like public things that were just revealed. Like it was in no way about football. Let's just go be there for Brian. Let's take care of him. Let's show him our love. Let's show him how we're a family. Like kudos to Ron Rivera and to the Commanders organization, Jason Wright and everybody. I think they understood the proper way to support him.
For as much as there's been a lot of stuff going on with the Commanders off the field, I mean, again, to Ron Rivera's credit, like how much can you really say has gone on in terms of like, there being a fight in the or like it just divide in the locker room? Like that hasn't really happened. Like Rivera knows. That's what I think we talk about, like when he's like adult in the room, knows how to run a team. Now, obviously, again, there's been weird stuff happening at a higher level of the organization, but that's kind of out of his control. There's a lot of Dan Snyder issues there. So yeah, they deserve credit for that. Robinson, I mean, to talk about the football of it, like it's a big deal. Like he was looking good. He's going to be their top running back. We all know, I think, like Carson Wentz isn't going to be carrying this team with his arm by himself. Like last year with the Colts, whatever kind of success that he did have was greatly aided by having Jonathan Taylor. So to be missing and I haven't seen any kind of timeline. I don't even know. Like, do they have a timeline?
They did carry him on the 53. Just to be clear, like today is 53 man. We've said this. I'm sure you've said it a billion times. These are initial 53 man rosters. Like these are going to change. Like whatever.
He can go on IR as soon as 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and then they can bring him back after 4 weeks because he can't go on PUP or whatever.
But my point is they chose to do that as opposed to placing him on IR prior to the 53 man. And maybe you could argue like it was maybe you could argue it was close enough that like you might as well do that. But they clearly feel like it's at least possible that he could return. But yeah, I mean, just and like again, I feel silly like saying, well, like how did this change? Antonio Gibson, like that was something like I said, Jamal talked about. He was being used on returns, like so is Antonio Gibson now there like running back, and like I don't think Antonio Gibson's like upset about this. You know what I mean? It's just an unfortunate thing that happened, and again, thank goodness he's okay, and the people he was with are okay, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I similarly am very interested to see how soon or how badly or poorly Carson sinks, like, or if he swims, like, because there's no more hiding for Carson, right? There's no more hiding under Frank Reich or with this or with that or whatever. Like, you are totally and completely exposed. Are you an elite quarterback, or was 2017 just some magical year of your football life? Like, this is it. I mean, I'm interested to see that at the very least.
I think it's interesting the three teams we've talked about so far, like. There's been a theme, I feel like, throughout this. The first theme, and the theme is like, of course that happened. Like with the Cowboys, of course Tyron Smith got hurt. There was all this consternation about the tackle situation. So of course that happened. With the Eagles, of course they traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's exactly the kind of move that Howie makes. Like a good, solid, and on like didn't even really get into the value of the trade. Like it's a steal. They traded a fifth this year, 2023, and
a conditional sixth, right?
No, it's a six. It's the less favorable somehow of the two picks they have in the 6th round. They got a 6th round pick when they traded Ugo Amadi, who they had gotten in return for JJ Arthur-Whiteside from the Seahawks. And also, as if that wasn't like cheap enough, they actually got some value in return too. The Saints traded their 2025 seventh round pick to the Eagles. So what a steal. And also, like, let's be clear here. The Saints secondary is stacked even more than I realized. Like, look at it. It's loaded. They have, Honey Badger, Marshawn Lattimore. They have Paulson Adebo, who I like a lot. They have Bradley Roby as like a backup. They have PJ, like their roster is like Marcus. They signed Marcus May. I forgot they have a lot of talent there, but you can't deny that they are at a worse team this season without Chauncey Gardner-Johnson,
right?
Compared to like draft picks that aren't playing this year. And like the Eagles own the Saints' first round pick, and it's like they only made the team worse. But anyway, getting back to my theme of it all, like not surprising for the Cowboys, not surprising for the Eagles. I don't want to say someone getting shot is like expected to happen, but in terms of like what did a bad vibe thing happen with the Commanders? Who could have guessed? Like it's very the energy of like unexpected bad news coming out of nowhere like fits the Commanders right now. So I think that's like the vibe there. I don't know if we have a similar thing for the Giants, if they have if something that applies as well. But yeah, that's the final thing I had to say on that.
I wanted to throw in one last thing. Like you reminded me on the Eagles, like of how I think off the top of your head how many teams have multiple first round picks already next year? The Eagles, Texans,
Lions,
Eagles, Texans, Lions, Seahawks. Right from the Russell Wilson trade.
The Dolphins did, but then they got hit with the penalties, so now they don't anymore.
So like it's like typically I think there's like a rule of thumb, like and you could rewind this a year ago and say the Giants, right? Because the Giants had 2 first round picks this past year. But like typically you look at that and it's like, oh, those are teams that suck because they like gave something up and they're gonna suck this year. So like they're just banking on like replenishing whatever. The Eagles are the only team that are like a playoff contender that have multiple first round picks next year. Like it's like they live at both ends of that spectrum, which is just weird. It's crazy that was the case last year. Granted, it was unknown whether the Carson pick would be a first, but still.
Which is good in one sense because fun season ahead, but also the quarterback thing still. Like not being able to maybe be high enough, but whatever. Problem for down the road right now. The New York Football Giants, RJ.
Well, you actually wrote the New York Football list.
Football less.
Yeah,
because you don't to say the football. You don't think they deserve the football.
Well, I used to say the New York not so good at football Giants, but you've now dubbed them the New York Football - list.
There's no football.
So then just the New York Giants, the actual name.
Exactly.
Good for SEO purposes, right?
Oh, absolutely. Can't say there's a lot going on with them. I was looking at Big Blue View. I was looking at their roster.
They're really boring.
There was the Tyrod injury, but it seems like he's going to be okay because they cut Davis Webb. It seems like I guess they would probably have kept him if Tyrod did get seriously hurt. Seeing a lot of these, Saquon's back articles, which I don't think we need to get into, but I think we're very skeptical about that. Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galladay is a weird thing. They had a scary moment with Kayvon Thibodeau. Thankfully, he seems to be okay. I've seen a lot of like Tyrod Taylor is going to play at some point for the Giants this year. Let me say this now. If Tyrod Taylor, and I like Tyrod Taylor, and I think,
me too.
I think he's had a just unfortunate, like ripple effect in his career ever since the Chargers incident that led to Justin Herbert starting. Like how do you foresee that? You know what I mean? But if Tyrod Taylor plays for the Giants, that is a massive failure. Like why? Like the entire purpose of this year, if you're a Giants fan, you're not going to be good. You're not going to be a playoff contender. You have to use every opportunity to determine if Daniel Jones is worth keeping around or not. He doesn't have a 5th-year option. He's in a contract year. You have to determine that. Forget about Saquon. Forget about Galladay. Forget about Kadarius Toney. Forget about Tyrod Taylor. This has to be Daniel Jones or bust. And you cannot live in the purgatory that Eagles fans feel like they're in with the quarterback.
Yeah, this was like a similar situation to when the Eagles signed Joe Flacco last year, and I was like, what's the point? Like,
and traded him? God, like how?
Yeah, that was a good move, but like signing him in the first place was dumb. They like doubled his salary, whatever. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, but the point was at the time, like there is no value. Like if Flacco comes into the game, and I didn't think he was going to replace Hurts, like with Hurts getting benched so much as like, if there's an injury, although if he did replace Hurts, whatever, there was no value in it. There was no like what meaning could you extract from him playing? The best case scenario is he's helping you win this year, but your roster isn't like good enough to really do anything serious anyway. So that doesn't matter a ton. So I think, that's a good point by you. It's a similar situation for the Giants. The only thing I can think of is like, if Daniel Jones is at the point where it's just like, they can't even like the offense can't like function, and they can't even like evaluate other players on the roster because he's just like such a disaster out there.
You get the spirit of my point. Yeah.
Right. Yes. I mean, then that is there's exceptions to the rule is the point. Yes, for sure. But on the whole, agree. And looking at their roster, I'm looking at their 53 on Big Blue View. It's not that great. They kept Darius Slayton for now, which was an interesting thing because there was thought he was going to get cut or traded. Maybe he still does. Kenny Galladay had like an awful preseason. I think he was my pick for like most underrated Giant. I was like trying to buy low on him and think he could bounce back. By all indications, coming out of Giants training camp and preseason, like no, like I think like it's looking really bad for him. So that's an issue. And then like defensively, yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot of juice here. I'm looking at their roster and it's just
I've kind of like. I mean, maybe I had these like glasses on, but I've kind of like flipped, the way I feel about the Giants and the Commanders. Like I could kind of see the Commanders, like how we talk about, like, can you see the path? I can see the path to them being successful. Right. And it isn't even like people are so quick to jump to like, oh, well, if Wentz is 2017 Wentz. No, like if he's last year's Wentz, like parts of it, at least, you know what I mean? With Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, and, we'll see what Antonio Gibson can offer in the run game. Like if that defense is just somewhat improved, obviously Chase Young's on the PUP list to start the season, but you can see a path. Like you could see a path to like 9 wins and that being enough, whatever. It's harder for me. I have to squint a lot harder to see a path for the Giants. Like I just like what, like Saquon goes off. Saquon like turns into like a 2,000-yard rusher. Like what you love to play the what precedent is there game. What precedent is there for like a running back who was amazing as a rookie, then fell off a cliff and then returned? Who is that?
No, there isn't. And, I think he can be better than he's been the past couple of years. Sure. Because he's probably healthier than he's been.
Also because that's not hard to do.
I mean, right. I think he can be fine / good, but he's not going to be, I don't buy him being special. And what I will say as a positive for the Giants fans, the Giants have no vibes right now, which I think is an improvement for them from all the bad vibes that they had for a long time. Washington, bad vibes. There's bad vibes down in Washington between Wentz and everything else going on off the field, and Brian Robinson getting shot. Again, no one's fault, but like that's not like a good signal. That's not like an encouraging sign before the season. The Giants are in a good spot of kind of like they're flying on under the radar a little bit. No one's really hyping them up at all. They're just kind of, everyone knows the deal there, and I think they're in a decent spot this year. I think everyone understands that it's a stepping stone kind of year for them. And that's the best I can say is they have no vibes. I will take no vibes over bad vibes. I mean, I always want vibes.
Who are the Giants of the AFC? The no vibes team.
The no vibes team.
Because it's not the Jets. Like the Jets had all the Zach Wilson stuff. No. You know what I mean? Like who are the no? I think I have the answer, but I'm going to let you go first.
Well, who is it? Because I need to figure it out.
I think it's the Titans.
Bad vibes.
You think they're bad? I mean, yeah. I would say like the Raiders
wanted to keep AJ Brown. They get rid of him. No,
I mean the Raiders are maybe the Bengals. Like I'm not saying they're equal, but like there's no vibes. Like there's nothing coming out of Cincinnati. It's just like they exist. Like that might be them.
They might be like the least hyped Super Bowl runner up in a long time.
Yeah, like again, I'm not saying the expectations or talent levels or rosters are the same, but like there's just no talk about like in my fantasy league of record, we have a keeper. Like everyone gets to have a keeper, and my dad was asking me if he should keep Jamar Chase or Debo Samuel. I was like, dude, how is this even a question for you? Like, no offense to Debo, but like, keep Jamar. Whatever. But let's finish with this game. So, like, who from a vibe standpoint, who is each team's foil in the other conference? We already established the Bengals or the Giants. We'll go in reverse order, obviously, because we've started it this way. The Commanders are the Raiders, maybe. Like kind of like wonky, weird. What's going on there? Like,
I'm looking at the other. I'm looking at the other teams. I don't know. Let's bail on this.
I can finish this. I can do this.
Okay.
The Commanders, I think, are the Raiders. I mean, I was going to say the Browns, but like that's not fair. To the Commanders. Like it's not.
Obviously to a umpteenth degree, but I think it's in that realm.
I mean, yeah, it's not the same thing. I would say. You could argue the Ravens just a little bit from the like, what are you doing, pay Lamar? Why is he talking about this on Twitter? Like, you could kind of argue that. No. Maybe the Titans. Maybe they're the Commanders. Like, there's some bad, whatever. Okay, I can land this plane. So the Titans are the Commanders. The Eagles are the Bills. Like, from a vibe standpoint, like hype. Promise. Everybody's in. I guarantee.
Or like the Dolphins, honestly.
That's fair, but again, I guarantee you, a week from tomorrow for the listener. So next Thursday on all the pregame shows, like kickoff shows, everyone's going to do their Super Bowl picks. There's going to be a ton of Bills Eagles.
Of course.
So that's the Eagles. Cowboys.
Bad vibes team only got worse. I mean, the Titans.
I mean, we already said that.
I mean, that's it though.
I actually think the Raiders, because the Alex Leatherwood thing was like a
Okay.
big time L. Like I'm talking very, very recently. Like, you know what I mean? Like I know that has not a lot to do with like the current regime, but there's all this like, oh
Maybe
my
the
gosh.
Patriots.
That's a good one. Yeah, because there's all this like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
Mac, you know, like with Mac and Joe
Like,
Judge,
obviously,
and, you know, like
bad idea.
Matt Patricia. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Okay. Let's finish very, very strong for the listeners because we both have. I have to go. I don't know if you have to go. Number one, I have 3 final questions for you. Number one, give us something that you promise to eat before next week's NFC East mixtape.
Pork belly soft bun dumpling kind of thing. Soft bun. What do you call
That
that?
sounds amazing. Holy crap.
Place called a Royal Izakaya in Philly. Really good sushi and other food.
So you promise to eat that before the mixtape next week.
Yep.
Okay. Number 2, without giving it away, the thing that I said that people would enjoy if they enjoy you and I, give us another fun clue hint about that.
Well, sometimes in sports, there are a lot of numbers. And, you know, it's good to keep track of those things.
I have no idea how that clue works. And I know what you're talking about. So I have no idea.
How numbers that you keep track of. You look at the box score after the game.
I don't think that works. I don't think that's a play on things the way you think it is, but I at least understand what you're saying now. Finally, I oftentimes ask for 3 words, 3 random words. I'm going to pivot from that. I'm going to ask you to give us 3 random desserts. They can't be related to one another. So like if you pick ice cream, you can't pick any kind of dairy. If you pick like a pastry, that can be the only pastry you choose. And these are all things that you eat for dessert. So you can't pick a pastry that's also associated with breakfast.
So I'm gonna pick my grandma's used to make this thing called like log cake, and there was like these wafers.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm gonna pick a chocolate chip cookie, giant chocolate chip cookie, like the big one you get in, you know, like that's like a pizza, but like it's huge.
like a cake, like the cookie cake thing that people do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a different enough from the log cake. The log cake is like an actual kind of more so cakey thing.
So the log cake is not. I'm envisioning like a Twinkie size thing.
No, I'll have to send it to you. It's tough to describe. Okay. I never understood like fully what the deal was there. But
okay,
it's
we
really
got
good.
Log cake, cookie cake, both cakes, so kind of failing the challenge. But third one,
and then no, it's the cookie cake's a giant cookie. It's not a cake; it's a giant cookie. And then
so then why
peanut
call it
butter perfection, which is like the Cold Stone Creamery chocolate and peanut butter ice cream that I love a lot.
Okay, my absolute last question: do you bite your cold treats like with your teeth?
I have sensitive teeth. I can't do that. I gotta donkey lip it.
Yeah, I think people that do that are psychos. So
I agree.
Do you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, limericks that you want to share with us? He is at Brandon Gowton on Twitter and Instagram. I am at RG Ochoa on Twitter and Instagram. BLG, send us home. I couldn't deny it. Give us 3 random words that have nothing to do with one another. Ready, set, go.
1, tenet. Doubly.
Oops, put the wrong thing.
That's a good blooper.